Welcome, everyone, to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, Advanced Energy Training for Empaths, the 16-week journey to heal karmic wounds, clear emotional blocks, and embody the power of your gifts. I'm Lisa Bunnies, and I'm really jazzed about hosting this Q&A conversation for the Shift Network, where we'll explore the teachings of Wendy Rosa and address questions about her upcoming 16-week course. Again, that's called Advanced Energy Training for Empaths, and it begins Wednesday, September 12th. Later, I'll explain how you can participate in this course. Even if you can't attend the live sessions, don't worry about it. It'll still work. But first, I want to introduce our guest. Wendy Rosa is an internationally respected intuitive energy healer, speaker, teacher, and author. For the past 2 decades, she's offered private sessions, education, and training programs for spiritual and personal growth for those wanting to develop their intuition, clear their blocks, and experience personal transformation. She's the founder of the School of Intuitive Studies and the Intuitive Healer Training Program. Wendy is also the author of the books Energy Healing Through the Chakras, A Guide to Self-Healing and Expanding Your Heart, Awakening Through 4 Stages of Spiritual Opening. And in just a few minutes, we're going to open up for your questions. But first, I want to welcome Wendy to the call. Wendy, hi. It's so great to see you again.
Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you too. Hello, everyone.
Yes, this will be great. I understand you're going to start us off by leading us in sort of a guided healing practice. Would you like to go ahead and jump on in?
Yes, absolutely. So let's begin. We'll arrive here in this present moment. We'll go ahead and close our eyes and take a seat wherever you are. Take a deep seat into your body. I'd like you to imagine here, as we're arriving into this time together, wherever you are in your day, that all of your energy is releasing from where it has been spread out to, caretaking. And that you're just calling all of your energy into your body, into this present moment. And feel your feet on the ground. And we'll envision the grounding cord. Your grounding cord is this beam of light or tree trunk-like image. It's secure around your hips and your sit bones. It also is secure around the low belly and your low spine, your sacrum area. That's the top of it, and it extends down deep through the earth. Like a strong pipeline that extends into the earth energy that is very nourishing and sturdy. And if you've been up in your mind, up in your head a lot, this is a wonderful way to sit down, bring your energy down into your body so you're connecting to your body. And we'll envision together that there's a great sphere of grace around you, around your body, around each of us individually. That we're held in a vibrant light for healing and for energetic protection. I pray that my connection is open to the divine. I receive the light through my crown to my third eye, throat, heart, continuing down to the lower power centers into the earth. I pray that it's protected with love, and I pray for a powerful time today, that we are here to learn, to develop, to expand, to grow. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be of service to you in the highest way that I can be. And thank you, God, so be it, and so it is.
All right, thank you, Wendy. So now we have the rest of our time together to dive into our viewers' questions for Wendy Rosa as we prepare for her upcoming course. Again, that's called Advanced Energy Training for Empaths, and it begins Wednesday, September 12th. And if you want to check out the website and learn more about the 16-week course, you can visit empathenergytraining.com to see the full description and to register if you'd like. So let's go ahead and get started with questions. If you have a question for Wendy, go ahead and type it in and I'll be happy to read them aloud. And let's go ahead and get started. We've got lots of questions already in. Let's start with Margaret's question, which is a good place to start. I think she says, how do I know if I'm an empath?
That's a great question. So you know that you're an empath if you are someone who feels the energy of people around you or energy in a space. Also, if you feel like you are in some way impacted by energy around you, so you are feeling fatigued. When you're around big energy, you end up shutting down or you feel fatigued. If you feel like you get headaches and migraines and get energetically overwhelmed or emotionally overwhelmed very easily, there's indications that you're empathically absorbing or picking up energy around you. And also, if you are feeling that in some way you might live, and this may or may not be in your awareness, but if you're living a little higher up in the body and not as connected in the lower body and having the experience of attracting a lot of people into your life who might need you to take care of them on an energetic level, there's empathic, that might be a signal that you're empathic. I want to clarify also that being an empath gets confused with being overly empathic. So being an empath is the ability to feel the energy that's going on around you, or to be able to feel if somebody's having an experience of an emotion that they're actually in touch with or they're not in touch with, and you feel it. Being able to feel what's going on for others is certainly an empathic quality, an empathic gift. Also feeling what's going on in the environment around you, whether or not, an energy in a space has a particular frequency to it or tone to it or vibe to it. Yet being overly empathic means that at some point, the energy boundaries have been crossed. The auric field has been crossed. The energy centers in the body are not holding in a particular way that's allowing you to feel yourself and feel your center. And instead, at that point, energy crosses into the energy system. And at that point, you're experiencing over empathy or oversensitivity, or overly empathic is what it is. So a lot of times the empath has this experience of feeling overly empathic and not able to see the gift in being an empath because it feels like a curse, feels like a burden to feel so much of what's going around. But the work in that, or the reason for that, is that the self is not entirely engaged or present in the lower body, specifically in the first three chakras. That's our humanness. Those are our empathic boundaries in the body. So, and our empathic power centers in the body. If we're not occupied and present in those areas of the body, then we're feeling everybody else instead of ourself. So that would be sort of some experiences for the empath, but I wanted to make that distinction between overly empathic and being an empath.
Okay, great. I think that's a really good place to start. And boy, the questions are pouring in. Let's go to a question from Erica, who I'm sure a lot of people are in agreement with this question. She wants to know, how can I tell if it's my energy or someone else's that I'm feeling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some of that is going back to there's an experience in the lower power centers. Again, I'm referencing the first three chakras a lot in empathic intuition, and I just want to explain that. Empathic intuition is not psychic intuition. It's not having psychic attacks necessarily, or seeing what's going on visually, or on a more on that dream level or on that psychic level. It actually has to do with the second and third chakras in the body, and the fact that they may be too blown open as a result of the first chakra being closed down. And what happens for an empathic person is that when we're raised in an environment and growing up, into life, and this was many of us, many sensitive people, where there wasn't necessarily understanding about how to raise an intuitive or sensitive or empathic child. And instead, they may have gotten something else. They may have been raised in an environment where their deep emotional needs weren't met, or there was trauma, or there was some experience going on in the marinade of early childhood that didn't allow for the inner child, for the young self, the little girl or boy, or the little child of all of us to be able to feel the feelings that were necessary. And so so what happens when we aren't able to feel our own feelings or belong here in our body is that the root chakra contracts and the second chakra then blows open. And this is where that blowing open and trying to figure out how to feel what's going on around us at the expense of our own feelings so that we can feel safe in our environment, we can feel safe in our bodies. This is a coping mechanism. I want to open up so that I can feel everything that's going on around me. At that point, it is very difficult to feel the difference between what I'm feeling and what the other person is feeling, because the coping mechanism in the body is that for me to survive, I have to be able to feel what's going on around me. I have to be able to take care of other people's energy. So the work here becomes, how do we start making room for our own emotions? How do we go back now to the inner child or the little childhood self and let the child know that it's absolutely okay for you to be angry? It's appropriate for you to be angry. It's appropriate for you to have grief or sadness or upset or a feeling about what you're experiencing. And that as we start to train ourselves to have our feelings, we start to know the difference between our feelings and someone else's feelings. In the moment when we've basically moved out of our bodies to make space for other people, because that's what happens. And when the root chakra contracts, the spirit has to find safety or survival in the body. At that point, we don't know what our feelings are. We don't, if we are told or living in our system that it's not okay for me to have grief or anger, then absolutely it is going to be very confusing as to whose energy is whose. The work is feeling your own feelings, giving the energy in the lower body permission to be felt in that area. Have the anger down to the base, down to the belly. Have the grief down to the belly. Let lower energy in your body, let it have an expression. Because as we let ourselves have an expression, we start to ground into that area. We start to occupy and take up space. From that point, because I know how to have my feelings, I am going to be okay with so-and-so having their feelings. I know what my anger feels like, and I can tell that that's their anger. That's not mine. So we won't know that if we don't know what our own emotions going all the way back down to the depth of ourselves and back in time. We won't know unless we know what that feels like, what those old feelings feel like.
Fascinating. Well, thank you for that. I hope that helped everyone. Let's go to a question here. Lots of people are asking this question. Let me read Julia's version of it. Julia says, I thought we all could change and be better human beings or souls as long as we wanted, but I learned that energy vampires can't get better. Help me to understand this, please. I'm still struggling with this idea of not everyone is a good person. And let me stress that most of the questions are about energy vampires or energy suckers, energy drainers, however you want to word that. People are wondering how to deal with that specifically. And what about this idea that not everyone is a good person?
Okay. I've addressed this on several levels several times, and I'm a preacher about this. So I'll be very clear. I personally do not like the term energy vampire, and the reason I don't like it is because an energy vampire is somebody who has a wound of lack of love at a very, very deep level in their energy system. And they may not be in touch with that or aware of it, but they may be reaching from that deprivation in themselves because at the deep down level, they needed love. And so they're reaching for love. They're reaching for connection. They're reaching to feel, a sense of belonging, and they're reaching on that level. And I know, and I'm going to speak for myself in this, I imagine, and I know for me throughout my life, I have definitely had to work through my own deprivations of love and not feeling met. And, and I mean, gosh, I could be put in the category of energy vampire, although anybody looking back at me would say that's crazy, because I wasn't. But if I were to really broaden this term and say, haven't we all been there? Haven't we all been at a place where we needed love at such a deep, unmet level that we're looking for love in all the wrong places? And so I feel that the term energy vampire polarizes people energetically. And yes, there are people with wounds. We all have wounds. We're all working through it. We're doing our best. There may be people who are not necessarily in touch with their wounds and they're acting out from those wounds. And you might, as a sensitive being, feel the negativity of their wounded energy, but we only absorb energy to the degree that we are not present in our bodies. We only absorb energy, truly, if we are not radiating out and expanding and grounded into ourselves and being able to sit in our own bodies and radiate our sense of presence and love and heal our own stuff. So if you're feeling the energy of somebody else and it feels like an energy vampire situation, that type of situation, first of all, what I recommend is to pray for the person. Really pray for the depth of their deprivation, where the angels need to come to them and fill up that hole with love. Pray for them because they're reaching for something. They may, on a subconscious level, sense that you have a doorway or a sense of light or something. And maybe it's not appropriate that it's your system and it's your body. And that's okay. That's probably truth. But at this time, when somebody is in that deep lack and lacking the consciousness around it, sometimes we can't always reach them on that human level. Maybe it doesn't feel appropriate to suggest that they get help around X, Y, and Z, or maybe it is. But either way, if it's not reachable on the human level, you can pray for them. Really pray for that where they are lacking love in their system and ask for the light to fill them up in that area of the body. That can be your prayer. Secondly, go into your own system and ask, where were you hookable? Where in your own body were you not letting yourself occupy that area of the body? Where do you need to grow and get stronger and love yourself more and tune into yourself and have more presence and expansion and power inside yourself? Is it your solar plexus? Is it your heart? Is it your lower chakras? When we start to blame other people for their energy, we're in a victim bind with the other person. They have dark energy. I don't want to be friends with them or connect or engage with them. But really, that's saying I am not necessarily occupying the fullness of my being and my power in myself to be able to be okay and acknowledge that this person really is in their wounding and it's not for me to take on their energy. It's not. When we expand out and radiate out, we do not absorb in. And that radiance might take work. It might take deep inner clearing to unblock more energy in the body, so more of the free light, that the soul light can expand in the body. But we can get caught in this, I'm powerless, I'm in a victim place, I'm absorbing, I'm attracting energy vampires, and all it's doing is creating more of a chasm and more disempowerment. An empath needs to learn how to be in their power. And that's what this whole training is that I'm going to be working with for these next 16 weeks, going in here with the Shift Network. This is about repatterning and shifting and clearing old karmic energy and blocks in the body so that the soul can really sit and occupy and be empowered and find the power in the body so that there's more presence and radiance in ourselves. And at that point, because we're embodying more of truth and more self and more light, our energy gives off the vibration of boundary and of clarity. If I'm in myself and I'm truth and I'm radiating, I'm holding my center. That signal gets emanated, in which case we may not necessarily be attracting the same kind of people in our lives. But at the same time, when it comes to this term, energy vampire, send them love. They need it at a deep level, and it may not be for your personal self or your energy system to take it on. So pray for them. Send them light to their being, into where it is and that they feel deprived, or you have a sense that they may be deprived. You don't even have to know. Just send them light to the depth of where they're searching and leaking or lacking. That's my response to the energy vampire question.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. This next question, it's I think a fairly similar question. It's exactly the same, only completely different. People are asking about sort of the symbiotic relationship that seems to happen between narcissists and empaths. So let me read you Janine's question just to give you a taste of what people want to know. Janine says, I didn't realize until my mother passed a few months ago that she was a narcissist who manipulated my empathic nature for her own purposes. She trained me from early on to tune into her so-called pain and suffering, and I learned to make sure she was happy so I wouldn't feel her pain. Once she passed, I felt tremendous relief, but I also realized that I don't know who I am after all those years of being her puppet. Will your course help me to figure that out?
Yes. Wow. Great question. Okay. First of all, the course will help you in connecting to yourself. Absolutely. And clearing out more of what might have been. I'm going to call it energetic damage in the lower body, so that, and anywhere in your system where you might need to reconnect to your power in the lower body. This is a very common dynamic, actually, between the narcissist and the sensitive, overly sensitive, the caretaker, the nurturer. That stereotype, or that archetype is probably a better word to use. So I'm going to address this on an energetic level in the body. With narcissism, it's mostly a nurtured disorder, meaning there's something that has happened at a early childhood level that gave the child the impression that they needed to disconnect from their second chakra in some way, meaning vulnerability wasn't okay, feeling your feelings wasn't okay. You needed to problem solve the feelings and not necessarily meet people on that empathy level. At the same time, some souls, children, come into this world and are already higher up in their bodies. They might have more of their power is in the I'm going to say the clairvoyant or the high visionary sense, or the high clairaudient sense, which makes for powerful leadership and powerful, sort of like that, being able to see the higher view of what's going on. But what it does is it disconnects from that empathic nature in the lower body. And here's what can be tricky about the narcissistic profile on an energetic level is their heart chakras can actually be pretty big. So you can get that charismatic, characters like, wow, they seem like such a great person, and they, can sort of morph to become what you need them to be. And they can, they are actually pretty open on the heart level. They're also open on the back of the heart, which means a lot more inflation of self and importance. But the issue is that, and this is where it's important for empathic people to get very connected to their second chakra and first chakra, is that second chakra intuition is empathic intuition. Third chakra is as well, but I'll get more into that at some point or during the course for sure. But the second chakra in particular, is the power of the second chakra is about your feminine force. That includes you feeling your feelings, and your under the table intuition, your ability to feel what's going on beneath the surface. Well, if I were a caretaker in the relationship, meaning I grew up in an environment where I got it pre-verbally or verbally early on, that in my second chakra, or I don't know it in my second chakra, but I know I get it on a pre-verbal or verbal level, that I need to move myself out of the way. I need to preserve myself somewhere else outside myself. And on an energetic spiritual level, what can happen is that the spirit can actually, our self can actually move out of our body, especially in the second chakra area. So now I'm not really in touch with myself in that area. I'm also not in touch with my intuition in that area of my body. All I know is that I can take on someone else's emotional, needs in that area. My second chakra, it's very much a mothering power center in the body. So unbeknownst to my higher consciousness, I am absorbing the emotional needs of others in that area of the body, and I'm getting very hooked. And dare I do something for myself, I'm going to feel guilty. That's the guilty on the energetic level means that I have absorbed too much energy and I'm taking too much responsibility. It's over responsibility in the second chakra area of the body. So what's happening here is now I am not connected to my second chakra. I can't feel under the table intuition. I can't feel narcissism. I can't feel the wounds of what's going on in this, in this individual who seems on a heart level to be, like God, so perfect. So saying all the right things, doing all the right things. But we can be extremely high functioning from the heart chakra upward. We can be highly spiritual from the heart chakra upward. But on the lower chakra level, if we are not bringing and embodying that amount of our spiritual sense down into the lower body, if we're not open to empathy and earth and connection in the lower body, then we are going to have the rug pulled out from under us. And that's the dynamic that plays out in this narcissism and caretaker role, is that I'm making this up. I'm the caretaker and I am not connected to my lower second chakra in a way that I can feel myself. Instead, I'm operating from conditioning. My conditioning is that's my job. That's normal. I just take on the energy of others. I take on their emotional needs. Here I meet somebody who's saying all the right things, doing all the right things. And then there's all these under the table things going on that I can't make sense of. I can't feel. I was blindsided by it. How did I not notice that? Well, of course, it's in your blind spot. It's in your blind spot because what's actually present is an old conditioning of not being connected to the second chakra area. So part of the empathic training here is that the empath does understand and know the power of their feminine power center, that the second chakra specifically, and that's true if you're male or female. We all have masculine and feminine powers in our body. So it doesn't have to be just women. This power center, the second chakra, embodying it and knowing it's okay for me to be my creative, my, intuitive, my in-tuned, my emotional, my, my really divinely connected self in that area of the body, then we start listening to what our body is saying, what our intuitive sense is saying about people. And I've been in situations myself where I've gone through, a pattern, I've gone through a relationship dynamic, and I go, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? I'm an intuitive. How did I not see that? And at the same time, I needed to get triggered again so that I could really see the depth that this pattern that is playing out in my life in this relationship dynamic has nothing to do with that person. That has everything to do with my childhood dynamics and what I grew up with, and and how I manifested or attracted that same dynamic just in a different person. And that's for me to get more connected to myself, and specifically in my lower body, to get more grounded and more connected in my lower chakras. So to the person asking this question, yes, absolutely, deep clearing in the lower chakras for you to find your power, to find yourself, to get a sense that your empathic nature was not for anyone else but you in the beginning. And unfortunately, parenting didn't work that way, but what's so important to remember on the spiritual path is no matter what our childhood story is, we as spiritually progressing souls always have the ability to transform. So I'm glad you're here and taking this step, because you're going to go through deep healing, and it'll be very important for you.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. If you're just joining us, we're here with Wendy Rosa, learning about her upcoming course, Advanced Energy Training for Empaths, and it begins Wednesday, September 12th. And you can log on to empathenergytraining.com for all the details and to register. So let's get back into questions here. This would probably be a good thing to follow up, because you were talking about childhood traumas, etc. We've got a few people asking specifically about sexual abuse trauma. So let me read Pat's version of that question. Pat says, what are some strategies for helping a sexual trauma survivor unfreeze and unnumb? She's asking for somebody else. She's worked hard to release this tension, but remains out of touch with herself. Her solar plexus chakra is particularly locked, and she's getting discouraged. And as I mentioned, there are other people asking specifically about sexual abuse and how can they be helped with this course? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really, really important question. It's also, I put a week training in the training. I put a week, one of the topics is specifically on sexual trauma, because it actually is significant for people and how it relates to how the body starts opening up and overly taking on energy, because there is an impact to the lower first and second chakra areas of the body. So first of all, she's asking, how do you unfreeze this area of the body? So we would need to honor, first of all, the body's natural protection mechanisms, which is that freeze in the body is actually, it's a self-preservation. It is a protection mechanism. And in order to really heal and unfreeze, the body does need to feel safe. There does need to be an element of safety in place. Safety is the power of the root chakra area of the body. When we go through an early trauma like that, I assume this is youth, sexual trauma, the root chakra, and this is true of trauma, I've mentioned this already, the root chakra will contract. And it will contract and close down, because that's the reaction to the nervous system is fight, flight, or freeze. To a child, it's often freeze. So this freeze happens, this root chakra contraction happens, and essentially what starts to happen anytime on the root chakra level something occurs, it becomes part of our hardwiring, becomes part of how we're developing. It's like the deep-seated, so deeply subconscious energetic patterns in the body that we don't necessarily feel it. Even if the mind knows I want to open up. I want to uncontract. This area of the body, we've got to start addressing it not from the adult self, but from the child. From the child who has been in that feeling of unsafety. And so the first step, which could take a long time, is to start to feel safe, is to start loving and feeling safety through the root chakra area of the body. And what might come with that when you start to say things to your root chakra, root chakra's at the tailbone, such as, I feel safe, or I trust, or I want to feel safe. You don't even have to push any further than you need to go. And then your body's willing to. It's just simply, I'm going to breathe here into the feeling of safety. So once you do that, tears may come, feelings may come about that. When we come down into our body, we feel things. Sometimes it's easier to stay ungrounded because we don't have to feel what's there. But the feeling is there in that area of the body. And this is where I always recommend, and we're certainly going to go into more of a practice around this in the live training, or in the full training of the program, the live training, is that we do start to push out. We do start to say, get out of my energy space, get out of my body, to the inner child, that giving the inner child a voice to be able to say what the inner child needs to say, because the adult wants that to go faster. Can you open that up? Can we unfurl that, or can we soften and feel safe? But the inner child isn't there yet. So we've got to go back a little bit to be able to give safety to the root chakra, to the inner child, give a voice to the inner child to be able to feel what's there and what needs to be released, and to give voice. I really encourage that sense of expansion of, this is my body. This is my space. This is mine, mine, mine. I am coming back in. I am dropping into this area of my body, taking up space in this area of my body, and just start to connect to this area. Now, there's a lot of steps here, and it's kind of challenging to go into in a brief Q&A, but we'll certainly go into it more in the live training, and we'll also work with safety and trust, even working up to that week, up to that module. So I'll give you that much for now, but also to say that there's more, and there may be definitely the need to be in support. And you have your practitioner, your therapist, your healer, whomever you work with, be sure to, have that additional support, because sometimes, most of the time, that is needed in addition to, doing self-work around clearing sexual trauma. So I hope that helps.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. That was, I think that was a helpful response. I hope those who asked the question would agree to that. Let's move on to a question here from Christina, who says, my body, I feel, absorbs sickness from others to the point where I'm eaten up with sickness and it's killing me. How do I release this sick energy away from me?
So it's similar to some of these, the placement of second chakra and third chakra probably being too open here. What can happen here on an energetic level is that when the root chakra contracts and the second chakra can blow open, the second chakra can also contract too. Depends on the person. Sometimes it's case by case. But the third chakra will often blow open, and it blows open because no longer am I grounding through my grounding cord. Now I need to cord to other people. I need to cord out through my belly to other people to be able to find ground. And when we start to attract sickness into our body, it's generally an indication that the solar plexus is too open and there's some reaching out or cording or merging going on between your energy and the other person's energy. So step one is to ground yourself, to really establish your really strong grounding cord and to pull your energy back into your body. to pull your solar plexus energy back into your body. And I do this gesture of just pulling my core energy and holding it in my body and starting to, in my mind and in my awareness, or even in my feeling sense, get a sense of what a round third chakra feels like in the body. So it's not blown open and, leaking energy out. So now I've got this sense of I'm intact, I'm present here in this area of my body. Sometimes you'll need to send the other person's energy back to them, give them back their energy in their own body. But when we pull our energy back into our body and form the second chakra, there's often, and even track your own system when you do this, notice if immediately you feel more grounded, if you feel more sense of weight in your sit bones and in your feet or legs, or get that sense of grounding cord. It's essentially we're pulling the cords back and we're grounding them down into and reinforcing our sense of self and grounding. So that is the deeper energetic piece of what's going on here. If you have taken sickness into your body subconsciously, obviously you don't want to be doing that, then at that point, you may need to clear it through your own system. You can do so by running light. There's lots of different ways to clear, but I'll give you this one for now since we're more in a Q&A format. But you can visualize light flowing through the crown chakra and through your central channel, and just ask that any energy that you took on that isn't yours, exhale it down your grounding cord, release it down and out of your body. Now, if it needs to exit a different way authentically, then track that, follow that. That's fine. Just let it release the way the energy wants to release. But giving yourself that let go of, I'm not holding on to this. This isn't mine. One way to do that is to let the energy go down through your grounding cord, and make sure you're running the light through your root chakra in a way where you're even saying to your root chakra, I am restoring optimum wellness in my body. Because a root chakra contraction in the body also means a deprived immune system. When we're closed down, when we're overwhelmed, when there isn't enough ground coming through the root, our immune system is compromised and we end up getting sick. So so send light through the root chakra and invite it to relax. I'm releasing and I'm restoring optimum wellness in this area. I'm allowing earth into my root chakra for optimum wellness. So I hope that helps.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Looking at the clock here, we have time for a few more questions. But before we take those, let me give a few details about the course itself. People are asking about that. Again, the course is called Advanced Energy Training for Empaths. And this is going to be, in case you haven't noticed, a fascinating 16-week journey under Wendy's expert guidance, where you'll receive powerful guided healings to align your energy system with your empathic gifts and discover how to begin reading energy intuitively without taking it on. And this 16-week course takes place on Wednesdays at noon Pacific, starting Wednesday, September 12th. And as I mentioned earlier, if you can't join us live, that's fine. You won't miss the teachings. You will receive both audio and video recordings, transcripts, and all course handouts on your course homepage. And also, I'd like to remind you that the Shift Network offers a no-risk money-back guarantee on all of our courses, giving you 2 whole weeks until September 26th in this case to make sure that it's a good fit and that you absolutely love it. Also, as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect in a private Facebook community group so you can stay connected with one another. Also, everyone who registers receives the Advanced Energy Training for Empaths bonus collection. First, you'll receive a 2-part foundational video teaching from Wendy entitled Discover Your Empathic Nature. Next, you'll get a set of 6 powerful guided audio meditations from Wendy called Transform Through Emotional Healing, Release Emotions from the Past. Then you'll receive a guided audio healing and teaching from Wendy entitled Clearing Negative Beliefs and Energy Blocks in the Body. And finally, you'll get a PDF file from Wendy entitled Chakra Healing Guide. And when you register by midnight Pacific on Thursday, September 6th, you'll receive an additional bonus gift, and that is another audio recording from Wendy. This one's called Divine Guidance Healing. So, Wendy, before we get back into questions, let me ask, what are you most looking forward to sharing in your upcoming course?
Yes, I was, as you're talking, I'm just feeling and thinking about how important it is for empaths and people, even if you're not sure what really are you an empath, what is this, is this really me? We all have been through life in a way where as sensitive souls, as intuitive beings, there has been energy held in the lower body karmically, meaning passed through from your soul into this lifetime, also in this lifetime, the need for deep, deep healing around these karmic imprints and clearing so that at least we can sit more powerfully and be grounded in ourselves. And the planet's only speeding up at this point. I mean, we have a lot of work to do here as light beings and sensitive beings in the world. It's important that we know how to occupy the power in our body and not operate from wounds in our body, and to expand who we're here to be, and know that in ourselves and live from that in our energy system in order for us to contribute to this world rather than feeling bombarded by it as an empath. So I'm really looking forward to supporting you in this deep transformation. It's deep, deep healing that we'll be doing throughout the course. Even if you've taken prior courses with me, you're going to be going through more of a detailed sort of fine-tooth comb, looking at what's being held in these deeper power centers, what the typical karmic blocks are and wounds that we hold on to. And again, even if you've worked with some of these before, there are layers. And this is going to be a powerful training for you to dive into some of these deep layers in the body to receive healing and to embody more of your empathic gift. So I'm really looking forward to supporting you in this journey.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Let's get back into questions here. Let's go to, let me do two questions here. They're similar topics, but again, completely different. Lenine says, I was at Disneyland and California Adventureland for 2 days. How do I get rid of all that energy? And then Felicia asks, my husband affects my energy a lot. How do I clear and uplift the energy when he's sitting in the house in a bad mood? I think you get the drift. I think anybody who knows what being an empath feels like knows you go to the grocery store and even something like that can be overwhelming. So how does one deal with all of that?
Yeah, I had to laugh because I went to Disneyland and I remember texting a friend saying, is there a meditation room here? I mean, God bless Disneyland. It's a beautiful place for kids, but definitely an example of a place with a lot of energy. For one, there are times when we do just kind of have to ride with it and not necessarily, it's sort of like going with the flow of it. And that's important. What I mean by that is that when we go with the flow energetically, it means that we're opening up our crown chakra to receiving divinity in that moment. And that divine grace can hold you through energetically overwhelming situations. Where it gets challenging is if the human self, the body feels like I need to take all of this on. I can't open up my crown, or I'm disconnected from my lower root chakra. Essentially, what the energetic positioning in the body or posture in the body is that you have a grounding cord from your hips and your sit bones and your low belly. It's like a pair of pants around your hips. So it encompasses the front and back side all the way around. And it's secure, and it's giving you that sense of security, and it extends into the earth. And that's your lower body. That's your pipeline to stability and feeling grounded in yourself. Then, if it feels appropriate, and some of you might feel differently about this or might need to just feel into it for your own body, but if you allow for prayer, if you allow for, angels, divine guidance, or for light, just beautiful light to pour through your system and protect you and guide you and support you in some of those environments, that it can be very, very powerful to help you get through the rest, get through the experience, move through it in a way that doesn't feel like you just absorbed everything that's going on around you. If you went and you still feel overwhelmed, do that practice afterwards. Run light through your whole system. Allow anything that isn't yours to be released into the earth. Send it back to Disneyland or wherever it might be. Send it back. I'm just allowing all that energy to go back to where it came from. And just envision you getting showered off and that your aura and your grounding cord are restored. And you might just need to take a good 10 to 20 minutes doing that. Maybe less, maybe more, but take time to do that. In the relationship dynamic with a partner, it can be a little bit different because there are reasons why we're partnered. It often has to do with our attachment patterns that we have between us and, our partner, and what we're here to learn about ourselves in those attachment patterns. So some of that is really, again, I'll give you a general one right now because we go extensively into this in the training program. But it may be, again, that you make space for feeling yourself, feeling your truth, allowing more of your energy to fill into your second and third chakras so that you're holding your boundaries in your lower body, and that you are able to give their energy back to them. And partnerships, it's very, very common that in relationships, people merge energetically. That's not uncommon. And it's actually normal on a lot of levels. But sometimes we do need to unmerge. Sometimes we do need to pull apart and just feel yourself and allow the person to feel themselves, or that they get to feel themselves. So you send his or her energy back to them, and you come back into yourself, and you run light through your central channel, and you let all of your energy come into your body, and you start to feel yourself and your needs and what's appropriate for you. We don't know that when we're merged. It's too hard to feel that. We sometimes do need sort of a healthy detachment in a way, even if it's for an afternoon, even if it's for a yoga class, even if it's for, some kind of container, even if it's for a weekend, that you get that space to be able to feel yourself. From there, you can start to, separate out what's yours and what isn't yours. So there's a lot more to this question, and I'll go more in depth with it in the training, but I hope that helps for now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's go to a question here from Catherine, who just wants to know, how do I know if I'm advanced enough for this course?
That's a good question. So by advanced, what we mean is that we're going into a deeper level of energy clearing in the body. So what would be I say important to know about going into an advanced level course is that you really have a sense of I'm okay, or I'm willing to go into some of these deeper places inside myself to heal some of these karmic wounds that are held. And when you go to the website, the empathenergytraining.com website, you're going to be able to see the course titles. You're going to be the weeks. You'll be able to see the modules in each of the weeks and the descriptions. So if you're willing to say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be able to go into my energy system and, track and be able to go through these deep healings and be able to release, work with, just follow the program, work with the energy. If it feels like you've never done any energy clearing before or had any personal process before, I would recommend there's a you'll get a video when you register for the course that gives you a little bit of background about the chakra system to give you a little lead into this course. So you have a little bit of background before you start diving into, the deeper clearing work. So at any given time that anything feels like this is a lot of healing, this is too much healing, I would recommend that you just honor your pacing. You don't have to move as quickly as the course is moving. You can always spend a little more time in one area of the body. You can always have some outside support also to help you as you're moving through the course, process some of the pieces that come up for you. There's also the training, the Facebook group, and there's been quite a few people who have been through my courses already who are joining again. I'm sure they're joining again, and they are also going to be. They have given other students connection for where, this is how this has worked before, or this is how this has worked for me before. They've been able to offer support to students who are coming in or maybe new to my work. They may have an experience of, how Wendy works, and this is what's helpful in moving through this course. So there is support in that way. And I definitely say make use of the Q&As. Stay on for the Q&As and listen to them, or listen back to them if you are listening back to the course, to the calls each week. Make sure you're doing that Q&A, because a lot of questions get answered there as well. So I hope that helps.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're about out of time. Let's see if we can squeeze one last question in here. You've already sort of touched on this, but someone with the initial E says, can my empathic energy absorption contribute to my debilitating chronic migraine and anxiety disorders and symptoms? And if so, what can I do about this? I know, big question, little bit of time, but again, lots of people are asking.
Yeah.
So let's touch on it.
Similar to what I was explaining before, in that when there's an imprint in the lower body, that makes it very difficult for the soul to be grounded in sitting in the lower body. There's healing that needs to happen there. The heart chakra anxiety, there's lots of explanations for anxiety, but one of them on the energetic level is that the heart chakra is doing all the work. It's opened up, it's blown open. A lot of the soul is living in the upper chakras, which can contribute to migraines, too much prana, basically, an excessive amount of prana in the upper body. And so my answer here would be that sounds like there's some detoxing that needs to happen in the lower chakras, and more grounding so that your spirit can come down more into your body and your energy can even out between upper body and lower body, which will take a lot of pressure off the heart chakra. And remember this, the heart chakra responds to what's going on lower in the body. So anytime there's anxiety, it's actually the heart chakra is the third or fourth place I go when I'm looking at somebody's energy for a clearing. It's actually the root chakra and the second chakra. Those are the first places I go to find out what's contributing to this anxiety. So again, bringing it back to the work that we'll be doing in the course, powerful clearing and healing so that the first, second, and third chakras can get cleared out of this deeper karmic and embodied held energy so that your spirit can start to reconnect in that area of the body and feel more peaceful and connected to yourself. So I hope that helps.
Okay, great. Well, this has just been a fantastic conversation. We could go on for hours. We've got so many questions that we didn't have time to address. And I want to thank our viewers for being with us today and for all those questions. Once again, Advanced Energy Training for Empaths starts Wednesday, September 12th. And you can visit empathenergytraining.com to learn more and to register. So before we go, Wendy, do you have any final words for our viewers?
Just blessings to you, really, for showing up and being here and recognizing that you have an empathic nature. It is a gift. It's just, healing may need to happen for it to feel like a gift. And it's a powerful time for intuitives right now to not live under the table or in the closet, excuse me, about their intuitive abilities. So I'm glad you're seeking out support and training, and I'm happy to support you further. So hopefully, I look forward to seeing you in the program.
All right. Thank you again, Wendy. It's been such a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. It's great.
You bet. And thank you once again to everyone who joined us today. On behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well and look forward to having you on this course or perhaps another one in the future. Have a great day, everyone.